Book of Yim-Dawat, which is the Egyptian Heaven and Hell by E.A. Wallis Budge, Book 1, and we arrive at Chapter 12, the 12th division of the Dawat, which is called Then Netru, and let's see, well, we'll get to it later. The 12th division of the Dawat, which is passed through by the sun entity during the 12th hour of the night, is introduced by 3 lines of text, which read, "The majesty of this great entity taketh up his position in this circle, which is the uttermost limit of thick darkness, and this great entity is born in the form of prayer in this circle, and endure in this circle for the birth of this great entity when he cometh forth from the Dawat and taketh up his position in the Madat boat, and when he riseth up from the thighs of Nut, and the name of the gate of the city is the Netru, and the name of this city is Xeper Kekiu Kaumestu, and the name of the hour this night wherein this entity cometh up into being is Manefert Ra." Above the whole scene is a line of hieroglyphs which describe it as... Okay, let me... Oh, that's in Demotic script, isn't that? Okay, we have... Okay, I don't... The Trupa... Okay, sorry for the delay. The hidden circle in the Dawat, wherein this great entity is born, he cometh forth in the pool of Nu, and he taketh up his place in the body of Nu. Whosoever shall make a copy, therefore, according to the copies which exist in writing upon the east of the palace, and shall know it upon the earth, it shall act as a magical protector for him both in heaven and upon earth. And of course, we gotta... That's sort of like the final boat there, the 12th of 12 hours. In the middle register are the boat the sun, in which stands the entity under canopy formed by the body of the serpent Mehen. On his hand are horns and a disc. In the fore part of the boat is the beetle Bra. Oh. Kthpe. No here. It's usually Kthbre. It's Kthbre. XPY. I'm not saying it right. Which takes the place of the solar discs that rest on the prow of the boat in the 11th hour. The text reads, "This great entity in the picture journeyeth along through the city by the means of the faithful servants Yamq of this hidden image, Ox, Netru. His entities draw him along by a cord, and he entereth into his tail, and cometh forth from his mouth, and cometh to the birth under the form of Kthbre, and the entities who are in this boat do likewise. He taketh up his place on the face of the hidden image of the horn of the sky at the end of the thick darkness, and his hands seal up the Dawat, and then this great entity taketh up his position in the eastern horizon of heaven, and Shu receiveth him, and he cometh into the being in the east. Kthbra is I come into being. And we see by the snake, and we also see by the mention of the horns of the sun, because the horns of the sun at the sunrise, the midday, and the sunset is the actions of the demons, wanting solar worship to occur. So we know who we're talking about. 12 entities who are occupied in towing along the boat of the sun, each with his head turned behind him and looking at the boat. Their names are Hru, Shamsu, Chne, Buk, Yuak Seuf, Sebhuf, Ahar, Yamkuy, Nebyamak, Ski, Huknuk Moo. This is 11. Huknuk Moo. Huknuk Moo. That's a hard one to say, isn't it? And finally, you. The text which refers to these reads, "Those who in this picture draw this great demon through the tail of the serpent. Ox that true, the loyal servants of Ra who are in this following are the product of his hands, and they are born on the earth each day after the birth of this great entity in the eastern part of the sky. They enter into the hidden image of Ox that true in the form of the loyal servants, and they come forth in the renewed forms of Ra every day, and when they tarry upon the earth, it is an abomination to them that utter the name of this entity, the monster serpent. Ox not true. 12 demonesses who were occupied in towing the boat of the sun through the body of the serpent. Ox not true. In each has her head turned behind her and is looking at the boat. Their names are, so again, 12 names. Stot, Kruchat, Ket, Kst, Spurtnerchs, Nubit Yimbit, Nubit Jata, Hatit, Hati Ra, Angst, Rummen, Srut Dup, Hatapmakutas, But Natchers, Dusser Yibbut. Different than s. The text referring to the serpent reads, and look at those hours. We're coming to an end of our hero journey here. So the demons and the demonesses of the hours there. Those who are here are they who have their bodies, and they come forth in the following of this great entity into heaven. And this is the hidden image of the serpent, Ox that true, which is by his den in the Duat, and he resteth in his place every day. This great entity speaketh to him in the name of Na, and the space covered by his 4 paws and legs is 1,300 cubits long, and he liveth upon the sound of the rumblings of the earth. The servants who are loyal to his servants come forth from his mouth every day. And the text relating to the 12 demonesses reads, "Those who are on this picture take the towing rope of the boat of Ra when it cometh forth from the serpent Oxnitstru, and they tow this great entity into the sky, and lead him along the ways of the upper sky. It is they who make to arise in the sky gentle winds and human breezes, and it is they who order those that live to place themselves in the great boat in the sky. In the upper register are 12 demonesses, each of whom stands upright and bears her shoulders a serpent which belches forth fire from its mouth. And their names are..." Okay, before we get to that, remember how the Yezidi talk about the uniting of the clay and the fire, the jinn and the human, but the shayateen min al jinn, obviously. The fert ksau ket ksit wat nara nabat sashashta nafert hardabat sit chit yit buet put hot ta u s qatam kthipus sextet makus hat ma thepus kthet ranksif. Oh, makus, there's no, in number 7 and number 9, it's just an X, not a ku. Oh, ku and ku, because of the 1 to 3 and then the 2. And we have kset anksef and putum yip. And then finally, nubit ar ma uya yibit. And the text reads, "Those..." Oh. Did I show the 6 with the fiery serpents? The shayateen min al jinn. "Those who are in this picture with their own bodies and from whom their uriah emerge, are in the following of this great entity when he setteth out for this city, and they follow after this entity, and the flames which issue from their mouths drive away Apep on behalf of Ra in the hall of the east of the horizon. They journey round about the upper heavens in his following in their places, and they restore these entities after this great entity hath passed by the hidden chamber of the sky, and then they take up their positions in their own abodes. They give pleasures to the hearts of the entities of Yimantut through Rahrukut, and their work upon the earth is to drive away those who are in darkness by the flames of their uriah, which are behind them, and they guide Ra along, and they smite Apep for him in the sky, 12 entities, each of whom stands upright, and has both hands raised in adoration before him. Their names are..." So, we're between dawn and sunrise, by the way, in our hero journey. The ox, he, Nabya, Nabdawat, Nutchamyub, Ham, maybe Ham-Ra, Uwaab, Hanu, Sin-Syibt, Ma-Dpunatru, Thus Dpunatru, Huknu, maybe Huknu Ksper. And the text reads, oh, and think about what they were doing, what each of the figures is doing that's different than the others. Those who are in this picture sing praises unto the great entity from dawn, when he taketh up his position in the hall of the east of the sky. They say unto Ra, O thou who art the producer of birth, who dost bring into being, homage of every soul. Heaven belongeth to thy soul, which taketh up its place therein, and the earth belongeth to thy body, thou Lord of homage. Thou sailest over the horizon, thou takest up thy place in thy shrine, since the entities in their bodies praise thee. Descend thou in the sky, and take thou thy two souls through thy magical protectors. The work of these entities in the Dawat is to praise this great entity, and they stand in this city, and they count up the entities of the country of Mafkat, the Sinai. They descend to earth before Ra, after he hath taken up his position in the sky, and doth rise upon the eyes of mankind in their circles. And the lower registers are Nu, holding the Usur and the Ankhs in the right and left hand, respectively. The entity Nutaj, holding the Usur and the Ankhs, the Usurs that the bull penis staff, and the Ankhs is, the symbol of life. The entity Hahu, holding the Usur and the Ankhs. The entity Hahut, holding the Usur and the Ankhs. The entity Daba'i, man-headed and holding an oar and a paddle. The entities that receive Ra, and an entity of the paddle. So let's look at these to think about the symbols we're doing here. Okay. The entity Kashufshuf, man-headed holding a paddle. The entity Nahui, crocodile-headed and holding a paddle. The entity Ni, with the heads of two birds and holding a paddle. The entity Nus Muksuf, in the form of a serpent, which pours forth fire from its mouth. The entity Nabiksu, man-headed and holding a paddle. The entity Kunti Tujtuf, man-headed and holding a paddle. The entity Ahayib, man-headed and holding a paddle. The entity the Watah, man-headed and holding a paddle. 10 entities with their hands raised in adoration, and their names are, but let's go back here to see. Okay, that's not it yet. But let's look at what we're going to encounter here. Their names are Dusku, Chama Re, Yaxbu, Suksanu, Rimanu, Thanu, Riman, Bunai, and Xure, and, oh, I guess I don't have them all. Yitchip, and Yemen Dutcher. The text relating to these reads, and look at those entities that are praising Ra at sunrise. That's sort of the sign of adoration there, is the, as opposed to the praise, this is more of adoration. When you put the hands and elbows up in front like that. Those who are in this picture in their own bodies join themselves unto Ra in the sky and receive this great entity at his coming forth among them in the east of the sky each day. They themselves belong to their halls of the horizon, but the forms which they have in the Dawat belong to this circle. Those who are in this picture with their paddles drive Apep to the back of the sky after the birth of the entity. Their work is to hold up the great disk in the eastern horizon of the sky each day. Behold the serpent of Sunmexif, which burneth up the entities of Ra at the dawn. These entities go round about the heights of the heaven in the following of this great entity every day, and they receive their protection for this circle. And Sun Muksuf. Oh, maybe it's Yun Sun Muksuf. Those who are in this picture behind the image of Yusur, Osiris, who is over the thick darkness, these are the words which this entity saith unto them after this great entity hath journeyed by it. Life to thee, O thou who art over the darkness, life to thee. In all thy majesty, life to thee. O governor of Yementet, Yusur, who art over the beings of Yementet, life to thee, O thou who art over the Duat, the winds of Ra are to thy nostrils, and the nourishment of Kthper is with thee. Thou livest, and ye live. Hail to Yusur, the Lord of the living, that is to say, of the entities who are with Yusur, and those who came into being with him the first time, those who are behind this hidden image in the circle where he liveth, have their nourishment from the words of this entity in their own duat. And see, they're exiting here. But remember, it is said that Yusur is actually from Sirius. And it's also said that he's a personification of a deified king. You know, they exaggerated his position after he died and finally decided to worship the guy and mix him into other mythological characters, just like the Christians did with Jesus. He was in this picture in the invisible form of Hre. You know, Hre is Horus. In the thick darkness is this hidden image which you lifted up beneath the sky, and Qabr cometh forth in the earth in this image. The end of the Duat, which is represented by the semicircular wall or border formed of the earth and the stones, are perhaps granite. At the middle point of this border of the disk of the sun, which is about to rise on this world, and joined to it is the head of the image of Shu, with his arms outstretched, you know, that feather thing and the knife, with its arms stretched out along the rounded border of the Duat. Above his head is the beetle, the symbol of Ksp, you know, Kspr. who has emerged from the boat of the sun entity, and below is the image of Yuf, shown with a knife with a strap handle to it this time. That is to say, the body of the night sun entity, which has been cast away. The end of volume 1. So die to go on again. And this journey, or these realms, they're a journey that we can make. And part of the purpose of sharing this is to present so you can reflect through the words and the images to make your own journey, or to follow along with the journey that is described. And whether I work on it today, or it happens at another time, I intend to share the start of Book 2 of Egyptian Heaven and Hell by E.A. Wallis Budge. As the ancient Egyptians would say, Sherma, peace be upon you.